Good evening, Jan John here. The picture you can see here depicts a very old movie, I think around 1956, and you may not be familiar with either the main star, Henry Fonda, or the very famous director, Alfred Hitchcock. Anyway, Alfred Hitchcock was a very famous British movie director who specialized in his own brand of suspense movies. And Henry Fonda was one of the old-time movie stars who made many movies. But both these people are probably well before your time. In this movie, Henry Fonda plays a man who is wrongly accused of committing a crime, and the whole suspense plot is about whether he is going to be able to prove his innocence or not. This was at a time when the idea of someone being wrongly convicted was probably quite rare. People had more faith in the legal system a long time ago, so this plot was quite exciting and maybe a little novel, N-O-V-E-L. It also probably reflects the fact that in the old days, when movies were first being made, there was a kind of informal moral code which was applied to the story and making of movies. So, for example, the bad guy and the good guy were always clearly defined, and at the end of the movie the good guy would always win. So the police, for example, would usually be shown to be honest, and they always got their man in the end. In fact, it would have been very unusual to see the bad guy succeed or get away with his crime. I suppose that people felt movies should reinforce the behavior we expect to see in society. People expect criminals to be caught and punished, and we expect the police and legal system to be fair and honest and efficient. A common phrase uttered by police detectives in movies would have been, "You have nothing to fear if you are innocent." This is what the police may say to a man who is being questioned or may have been arrested. They would try to convince the man that if he was truly innocent, he had nothing to fear. The legal system was perfect and it would show him to be innocent. I think these naive times have long since disappeared. Naive, N-I-A-V-E. Few people nowadays would have so much confidence in the legal system that they would just be willing to talk with a policeman without legal advice, confident that they would not be charged with any kind of crime. Problems with the legal system arise for many reasons. Firstly, of course, the legal system is run by human beings, and human beings are not perfect. They have their biases, B-I-A-S, prejudices, and plain stupidity. You're more likely to be found guilty of a crime if you fit the policeman's stereotype of the kind of person he thinks is a criminal, no matter how strong or weak the evidence is. And the same when you get to the courtroom. if the court has a jury system, again, there are human beings who are making subjective judgments about the guilt or innocence of the accused. And then there is the judge, who we hope is objective, but would you want to bet your life on it? And of course, we can't ignore just plain corruption. Unfortunately, we are treated to titillating news of corruption every day in the newspapers and media. Rich and famous people escaping punishment for crimes they have committed, and possibly innocent people being convicted of crimes they may not have committed. Nowadays, your guilt or innocence may well be decided by your power and wealth rather than your culpability. Culpability. C-U-L-P-A-B-I-L-I-T-Y. Culpable. So what about you? Do you have confidence in the legal system, which consists of the simple policeman walking the street to the politicians who create the laws of the land? I think I have to guess that most people are going to answer no to this question. Many people feel that politicians have their own axe to grind, and are in no way neutral in regard to lawmaking. And when was the last time you heard a policeman had received a small bribe for maybe ignoring a minor traffic offence, for example? So what can we do to improve the system and make it more rigorous and trustworthy? Openness or transparency is probably the number one criteria. Transparency means we can all see what is going on. So if something is done wrong, we can all point the finger at the guilty people. So we need a relatively free media, and we need a legal process which is open to observation. So for example, you can see police documents, and you can visit a court to watch the proceedings of a trial. Perhaps most importantly, we need strong penalties for people who do break the law, especially those who are involved in management of the legal process. Punishment for an official breaking the rules should be more severe than punishment for ordinary people. Probably also we need to have corruption eradicated top down. So we need to have the people at the top giving an example of good behavior for people to follow. Unfortunately, in many countries, the people at the top are not honest and law-abiding. Therefore, it's very difficult to expect everybody else to behave well. So it is really important that the people at the top behave in a proper way. Here's my essay question today. The legal system is at the center of a mature and developed society. Confidence in the legal system is absolutely paramount for people to feel secure and for society to be able to develop. However, education is also important. We need to teach people about social responsibility and values so that people can live in harmony with a minimum amount of laws, minimum amount of laws. Do you think that we should have a society which is based mostly on a strong legal system, or based mostly upon trying to teach people social awareness and responsibility? First paragraph. Societies are very complex organizations of human beings, and there are many opportunities for problems to arise. Differences of opinion or perception can lead to arguments, disputes, and even violent conflict. To solve these disagreements, we need to have some kind of agreement about how we should all behave, and this can either be written down in the form of laws, or it can be passed down from generation to generation in the form of conventions and culture. The second paragraph, I'm going to support social awareness and social responsibility education. I think a society which depends mostly upon laws is going to lead to people being very immature and breaking the laws when nobody is looking. Much better to get people to understand the right way to live together in society and follow guidelines, not because they are forced or afraid of punishment, but because they agree this is the best way to live together. For example, we all want to get a good night's sleep, and this may be problematic if people around you want to make a lot of noise. If your neighbours, for example, want to have a very loud party until the early hours of the morning, it's going to disturb you. A few weeks ago, I went to visit a friend at university, and he complained that his neighbours had kept him up all the previous night, because they had a party which was very noisy. The university actually does have dormitory rules saying that there should be quiet after 11 p.m, but these students in the next room ignored the rules. The following day he had a meeting with them, and they discussed this problem, and they apologized and agreed that it's best for everybody if we try not to make a noise late at night. And since then he has had no problems. He could, of course, have gone to the university administration and complained, but he felt it was better to find some mutual understanding and agreement with his neighbours, which in this case worked out well. Third paragraph, supporting the legal system. On the other hand, some people are just going to be obnoxious, obnoxious, O-B-N-O-X-I-O-U-S, no matter what you say to them. Unfortunately, there is always going to be a minority in society who will be selfish and uncaring of other people's comfort, and when dealing with people like this, the law is the best resort, R-E-S-O-R-T. To use a famous quotation, it is a noble thing to try to educate your fellow man, but utter stupidity to converse with idiots. Utter stupidity to converse with idiots. Conclusion, in summary, it is far better for us to live together in harmony without the law if possible, but in the last resort we do need a strong legal structure. Good night, everybody.